Well, I'm in the kitchen. I was getting ready to go out. I made chicken salad yesterday, and I told Jan I'd bring her some today. She can have it for lunch or for supper, whichever she wants. I tried the chicken salad myself first, and it's pretty good this time. In fact, I shredded a little apple. I don't know what kind of apple it was, just happened to be one I had in the refrigerator. So I thought, I'm going to put a little bit of apple in my chicken salad this time. And it turned out pretty good. So when I get through here, I'm taking some of it to Jan. I may take some of what I'm going to show you. What I'm going to show you is how to make candied grapes. Now, some of you probably done this time and time again. I have, because anytime there's a social event and they say bring something, I take candied grapes. Everybody loves them. The red grapes or the big green grapes, and buy the biggest ones you can, and do what I do. I sample them first. I want to make sure they're good and sweet. So this is going to be a simple little thing, but it's going to be something you will like when you want that special little finish to your party. Especially if you're going to be having a Halloween party, or your kids are going to be having one at home. They'll just love, they'll eat these candied grapes like they were M&Ms. So I'm going to get right with it and show you what I'm doing. First, let's turn this a little bit. I don't know if I can show it to you or not. First, I'm using candy coating. This is what it looks like. But you can get the white chocolate chips at the grocery and use them if you like. But this works very well when you are going to be melting the chocolate. I suggest you get it, and it comes in big squares like this. So I'm using part of them. You don't want to put the whole package into the dish if you don't plan to use it all. So in this dish, I'm going to set this back a little bit more. See if I can't get the dish in the picture. All right, here we are. See, I've got this inside another dish, a Corningware dish. See, it's a Corningware dish. This is a jadeite dish. Now, I have melted my chocolate, and I've got it setting on warm because it's completely melted. But another thing I want to do, I don't want my chocolate real thick on my grapes. So I'm going to put about a teaspoonful of Crisco. Well, come on there. We'll get it out of the spoon. There we go. Yeah. So I'm going to put that in, and it thins the chocolate down a little bit. Now, you've seen the beautiful big red strawberries at Valentine's Day that they sell for a bundle. This is how they do it. But of course, they use a little squirter that fancies up the strawberries. I just dip the strawberries. Now I'm going to be doing this by hand, and the thing about this is it's very easy to do, but it's time consuming. And I want to tell you first, now take a look at my grapes. These are nice looking grapes. Big, and I tested them first right at the grocery. I tested one, very sweet. But the thing I want to show you, you know where the grape is attached to the stem? See that little spot right there? Okay, that's the end you want to cover with your white chocolate, because they'll last longer. They'll stay fresh longer, and they're prettier you're showing this end of your grape instead of this end of your grape. So always remember that. The second thing is wash your grapes good and dry them. They must be dry because the candy coating will slide right off the grape if they're wet. So that's very important. If you find your candy coating sliding off the grape, you know they are not dry enough. So you get your paper towel and start drying them off. So having done that, this is just as simple as can be. I'm going to try first doing it this way. Somewhere around here, oh, here they are. I've got my toothpicks. Now, I don't have too many toothpicks, and I prefer to use the little wooden one. Don't use the plastic one. I'm going to see if this works okay, because sometimes grapes slide right off the toothpick. I'm going to see if it works for me. I'm putting, let's see, how am I doing this? Okay, I'm going on the good end, putting the toothpick in there, and I'm dipping it. Can you see what I've done? See how pretty that is? You let some of that chocolate slide right off because you don't want it too heavy because you're going to be doing a lot of grapes. And then you just set it right on your pad. Now, what I've got here is my pad with wax paper on it. Dampen the pad first and then spread your wax paper so it sticks. Mine's been sitting here long enough that it dried out. But anyway, here's what you've done. You've set your little grape on there. You can let it melt that way. I'm going to do one more that way, and then I'm going to do them the way I always do them. One more. Go about 2/3 of the way up the grape if you can. Let that drip off because it's going to end up on the wax paper anyway. These are the best things you ever ate. Set it right on there. Now, when you get through, you're going to have a whole tray of grapes like this. Ordinarily, I do this. I just hold the grape with my fingers. You see the stem end right there. And I dip it down in there. Now, you can't dip it as well this way as you do with the toothpick because it gets on your fingers. I just do that and I lay them sideways. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can see that. You can tell it's laying sideways. I'll do another 2 or 3 of them. The stem side down. And I just twirl it a little bit to get the icing on the sides. Let it drip, come on. Drip off, there we go. And I lay it to one side again. See that grape? Keep on doing that. I used to do this when I went to high school class reunions. Now I've reached the age where we don't have half a dozen left in my high school group. So they've discontinued the class reunions. But I was usually the program chairman, having to plan all the party stuff. And I always took refreshments. And one of those refreshments was my candied grapes. Well, those people, they'd never heard of candied grapes. Well, I hadn't either, really. So, they loved them. And when I left, I never left a party with a single candied grape left in the dish. People love them, and you will too, and your kid will eat them like they're M&Ms. I recommend this recipe to you. I'm going to do a few more so you can see what I'm doing. And the nice thing is, if your grapes have been in the refrigerator, they're already cold. And by being cold, the candy hardens around the grape faster. It begins to harden. And make sure you have a big sheet of white paper spread out, because you'll be surprised how much room it takes to do these. I can't wait to get them finished, because usually I'm picking them up while I'm making them. But I want the candy to harden first. So, now if you have a nice tray, a pretty decorative plate, this one with the toothpick is the way to go. You can stack them around and they will look very festive, and everybody will be anxious to try your candied grapes. Watching me? Make sure you watch closely, and make sure your grapes are cold. See, that's running down the sides a little bit, but it won't go too far. I wish I could stick them this way, but I can't, because they'd run right down over the grape onto it. You wouldn't have any way to hold your toothpicks. So let's do that like that. Do you like this? I've got one or two more things I like to make when I'm going to parties. And one of them, vegetable bars. I've got a recipe that's called Jerome bars. Now that's not my recipe. That recipe was given to me, I don't know how many years ago. I lose track. Everything seemed to be around 40 years that I can remember. And I made these. No, I didn't make them. My sister brought them home from her class reunion. This was back in the about 1980. And she said they're called Jerome bars. Well, she got the recipe, of course. We had to have the recipe. So that's another one of the party treat that I like to make. And I'm trying to think what else. There are several more, but these right here are my favorite. Just can't help but like. Now this one's a little bit wet. I'm drying it off with my fingers, because it, having been in the refrigerator, it sweats a little bit. There we go. People like when I come to parties, because I always have something special. Well, I try to anyway. I enjoy doing these things. Haven't got to do it in the last few years, but I remember here at Hanover Towers we used to have Christmas and 4th of July, and everybody would bring a dish. And a lady called me and she said, I want you to bring candied grapes. So I went to the grocery, and of course, wouldn't you know, candied, the grapes were like $3 a pound. Well, back then that was a lot. Now I watch for them to go on sale. I don't buy them unless they go on sale, because everything now is too expensive, and people are having to really economize. And it's a shame, the things that we love to do, the things we love to eat, we're having to cut back on them and find better ways of conserving our food. So, now that you've seen my candied grapes, I'll just bring this a little closer. I want you to get a good look at them. let's go around to the side so you see how they look. See, now you could use chocolate, but I found the white chocolate is better, and I think it's prettier. So you try this for the next little get-together you're gonna have, where you want to give them something special, maybe something they never tried before. Now, I've got to put these away, get that in the refrigerator, gather up my chicken salad and take it to Jan. Jan's working today. She works one day a week at a little antique shop. It's a really nice antique shop, small, but they have lots of good stuff. It's called Feather Your Nest. I like the name of it too. So every once in a while I go in, I'm tempted by some of the things, and even in her booth I'll pick up something and she says, take it home with you. I said, well, I will, but I'll be bringing it back, because you know I will. And I bring it home. I use it a while, or I sometimes use her antiques and her vintage items for storytelling, because she has some very interesting things. I brought home, I think I did a video on the two little sterling silver cups that held half oranges. They had to be very old, and the cups were still very tarnished, but I found them two of the most interesting items I've ever seen. So I'm gonna have to look back on my videos. I found myself the other day telling the same story I told 3 months ago, and I said, oh my gosh, I need to keep a record. I'm too forgetful. So I'm drooling right down one side of my mouth. That's what happens when you turn 86. But at least I've got a little bit left up here. I can still use it and hopefully keep you folks a little bit entertained. We all get bored with life. We're all looking for something interesting, and watching other people cook, watching other people entertain, tell good stories. I love to tell stories. I don't know how you feel about my stories, but I plan to do more old time stories. Back even as far as the Revolutionary War. These are family stories. So if you stick with me, if you like things like that, I'll do my best to take up a few minutes of your time during the day when you look out the window and the sun's not shining and nothing's happening, the wind's blowing. You think, oh, winter's coming on, I don't think I can handle it. Okay, you just keep your video files handy. And that might help get you through a day. Many things I've seen on Facebook, many comments I've heard, and stories that have been told get me through a day, and they will you too. So I'm glad you're with me today. I'm not using the clicker. That little old clicker's failed me again today. It looks like I'm gonna have to buy a new one. So thank you for watching, and get out there and buy you a bunch of grapes and start dipping them. And try not to eat them all before you get through, because you want to save a few for your family and your friends, and show them this recipe. They'll love it, and you will too. And thank you so much.